Jai Guruji. I am deeply honored to share some of my special moments with Guruji with the Sangat this evening. So shuru se shuru kare my journey with my beloved Guruji. I first met Guruji nearly 20 years ago. He had asked my husband Deepak and my brother-in-law Arun Shori that I should come and meet him at Empire Estates. When Deepak came home and told me about it, first I was a bit unsure. But then that feeling completely disappeared when I did go to the Empire Estate, Chota Mandir as we call it. Guruji just looked at me and said, Kailash Khanna di Kuri. And I was very surprised then, but not now, because I know now that with Guruji's X-ray vision, he sees, he knows everything. After I followed what I saw everybody doing at the mandir, that is, bowing down before his feet, Guruji pointed to the place just next to him for me to sit. A place I have occupied very often. And now I really wonder what I may have done to deserve such a great blessing from him. Those days, the routine was that we all sat in very organized rows in silence. And sometimes he would talk to certain people, asking them to bring a brass glass or something which he would bless. And then it seemed that very miraculously all their health problems would go away. Chai prasad was served to all by the sevadars, and at the appointed time everybody received handfuls of the sweet and delicious khara prasad. Then the mats were laid out and the endless amounts of langar, which never seemed to run out, was served. Often devotees pressed his hands and feet, and I did too, on many occasions, and the fragrance of roses remained on our hands long after we had all reached home. After this first visit of when I went to see Guruji, he asked me to keep coming to the Chota Mandir. And I remember receiving a small laminated photo of his on a plastic stand which would stand up. And I placed this on my puja along with the idols of Ganesh and Krishna, Lakshmi, Saraswati and Shiva, which were all the gods that I offered my daily prayers right from my childhood. The next morning when I went to do the puja, I found that that very picture had fallen down, and next to it, the sindoor in which I kept the sindoor in a small round silver dabbi, had also fallen on the puja table, as if it had been upturned, but yet the sindoor was in a perfect round. But the amazing part is that the empty dabbi was not upturned, but it was in the proper upright position, but it was empty. At first I thought maybe somebody has come in and done that, but it was most unlikely because it was very early in the morning. And I thought maybe some rat or something like that had come into the room and had dropped the photo and the sindoor. But I couldn't believe that the rat had managed to put the dabbi back upright. And much later Guruji told me that he had visited me that night and that he came often. And only then did I understand that I had witnessed one of his many chamatkars. In the early days, while at the mandir, I had connected with Roma Sapra, and one day we met at a dinner and we were sitting together, we were talking about Guruji for a long time. And as is the case with many of us, these connections and talking about Guruji brings tears to the eyes. And I was talking and crying at the same time. And the next day when I went to the mandir, Guruji pointed out that Roma Aunty and I seemed to be having a very good time at the dinner. And he actually did the action of, as if we were having a drink and quite merry. But that he knew. He was not upset about that at all. And he knew and he told us that it was all right because we were really only talking about him. It was quite shocking for me to realize that how could he have known all this? How did he know where I was yesterday and what I was doing? But as we all know, Guruji just knows everything. And Guruji used to, at the mandir, hand out wedding invitations of people who came to the mandir. And one of these days, he gave me also an invitation. Of course, I was going to go, but perhaps I was a little late. Suddenly I get a call from Roma and she says, Joni, Guruji wants to know whether you are coming. I said, yes, I'm on my way, Roma, but how did you know that my pet name is Joni? Because nobody knows me there as Joni. I'm only Jyotsna. And I was really surprised. And she said, well, Guruji has asked me and has asked me to call up Joni. Again, I was surprised. Though I should not have been. But Guruji also knew that it was only my family who called me by this name. And I don't know, I think he wanted to just show me that he was getting very close to me or I was getting close to him, for him to call me by my pet name that only my family called me by. So these early instances and incidents drew me to him very deeply. And I found that I was getting more and more connected to him. I would go very regularly to the mandir. I would enjoy sitting there. I would enjoy the times when maybe I was asked to press his feet, or I just found I was so happy there. I knew all the people by their faces. I didn't know their names. But there was a family feeling and a connect that we all shared, and that was so very clear right from the beginning. But I am saddened to tell you all that there was an incident when I made a mistake. Guruji had asked me to come to the mandir on a particular day, and on that day we had a dinner engagement that I was very keen to attend. So mistakenly I thought it would be okay if instead of Thursday I will go on Friday. And so my husband and I set off for the dinner, but we never made it. Because on the way, Deepak, my husband, started feeling very ill with pain in the chest, sweating, and all the parameters of a heart attack. So we had to rush to the hospital. At the emergency room there, the doctors told us that he had 90% blockages in 3 of his arteries and he would have to go in for immediate surgery. Now, at the hospital, my husband, my younger son, and my daughter-in-law, we were all there. And all of them felt Guruji's fragrance, but I did not. And even after, in the recovery room, where there was just Deepak and me and maybe a nurse or something, Deepak felt his presence, got his fragrance, but again, I did not. And I know that this was Guruji's way, not of punishing me, but of somewhat ignoring me. Because I was really the one who was connected with him. I was the one who used to go to the mandir. And I couldn't believe that why am I not getting his fragrance? Anyway, my husband recovered, and soon enough when I went to the mandir, he told me, he said, I have given your husband a second life. And if only you had come to the mandir as I had told you, you would have been saved all this trauma. I really felt so terrible. And I said to him, I said, Guruji, I will never ever make this mistake again. As I talk to you, it seems as if I could very easily talk to Guruji and say this, that or the other. But to be very frank, I really couldn't utter any words to him. And he always spoke in Punjabi. And though my father is a Punjabi, I do not know hardly any Punjabi. My mother being a Malayali, but saying that I don't know any Malayalam either. I've been brought up and in a Western education where we speak only English, we speak at home in English, and it's quite ridiculous, but I'm not good with languages, and even after living in Delhi for 30 years, I speak a very hopeless form of Hindi. So I told JP, I said, you must please excuse me, but if I am to talk and share these experiences, I would not be able to do it in Hindi. So I hope that I'm sure that everyone will understand and will know and follow what I'm trying to say. There are so many beautiful incidences and stories that one can share, and it's difficult to really, because something happens almost every day when you are connected with Guruji. But I remember at our younger son's wedding, on the day of the Sangeet, we were decorating the house with the flowers. All the relatives and friends and everybody had come from different parts of India and the world. And suddenly I hear my husband call out to me and he said, come quickly. My mother Dadi, as we all called her then, Dadi has passed out. And this was really, we were just about going to be getting ready for the festivities and for the Sangeet and so on, which was in the morning. We had it in the morning. Dadi was not keeping good health those days. But, she was fine, but she was an old lady and she did have some issues with her health. Well, I ran to Guruji's picture, a big picture that he had given me. And I really prayed, cried and prayed. And I said, Guruji, please, not today. Let nothing happen to Dadi today. And I ran down to her room where she was. And you will not believe it, but as I entered her room, Dadi opened her eyes, she turned, and she sat up in her bed. And she recovered so quickly and so fast, as if she had not been ill at all. She sat through all the functions. She gave her blessings to my children. And it is really true when you say that if you pray with a complete, that, you must help me now. You must help me. That prayer never goes unanswered. And with Guruji, it never ever goes unanswered. Well, my elder son, as I'm talking about my children, had been married for 5 or 6 years, and they had no children as yet, and I was becoming an anxious want-to-be grandmother, and I said one day I will ask Guruji that is this boy of mine planning on having any children or not, because he's not particularly, I think he says now he likes his children, but he's not particularly fond of children. Oh, that's, I mean, I don't know. Anyway, so I couldn't, I mean, I had decided that I was somehow going to ask Guruji if he was going to have children or not. And so I had gone with my sister-in-law Anita, and I didn't have the guts to ask him, and always I couldn't speak in the Hindi, and certainly about this sort of thing I thought, my goodness, how will I explain all this to him? So I asked her, I said, please ask Guruji if Rajat is going to have any children. They've been married now 5-6 years and there's no sign of anything happening. So she asked him, and then Guruji said that you bring a picture of Rajat. And when I did that, he looked at it for a long, long time. And then he kept it with him. And at once I thought, oh, okay, probably children are not in their kismet. Guruji said, you ask your son to come and meet me, to come to the mandir. So I said, yes, I will do that. But of course he was living in America at the time, and I didn't know really when that was going to happen, when he was going to come and so on. But as it happened, younger son's wedding was also fixed up and they were coming for the wedding. So I thought when he comes for the wedding, I will take him to see Guruji, him and his wife. So we went, of course, we sat, we had the langar and everything, and he enjoyed all that, and then we left. I didn't ask about this, but I just left it. And when we went home the next day, there were some functions that had to be done. So for my younger son's wedding. So my daughter-in-law said that, Mummy, I don't think I can sit in on the puja today because I'm not well, I'm down, and so I should not sit in the puja. So I said, no, it's fine. I don't believe in all this. This is a natural process. You can sit, that it's fine. So she sat and we all did the puja and everything, and all that happened. And after the wedding, they went back home to the US. And I mean, it wasn't even a month. I think it might have been 10 or 15 days later. She called up and she said, Mom, you better sit down. So I said, why? What's happened? And she said, you better take out your knitting needles. She said, I'm going to have a baby. So I said, how can you be pregnant now? You couldn't sit in the puja because you were not well and you were down. How can you be having a baby now? I said, are you sure? And she said, yes, I'm sure. And so it was so strange that happened like that. And then Guruji told me that maine do ditta. And I thought maybe, they'll have one and then another. But no. they had a set of twins. And subsequently, about 7 or 8 years later, they had a second set of twins. So he he blessed us with so many children, beautiful boys, and it was really something that was amazing, and something that I'm so grateful and so, well, I mean, everyone knows, I guess, what it is to become a grandmother. It's one of the most amazing experiences to go through, and I hope that everybody gets that opportunity. One day I was sitting next to Guruji, and I thought, just this thought came into my mind that I wonder what the Bade Mandir is like, because I had never been there. And he immediately turned to me and said whether I wanted to go to the Bade Mandir, and I said yes, of course. So I think a lot of the Sangat was quickly, given, what is the word he used to use when you have to, Agya, I think. Yeah, you were all given Agya. And then most of everybody left. There was just Arun and Anita and myself, and I think Menaka Gandhi and Guruji. And we went, and Deepak, I think, my husband was also there. And we went to the Bade Mandir, and Guruji walked with us through all the rooms and every part of that home, that mandir, which was his home. We even went into the gufa, the cave, where he showed us where just a single lamp was burning. And he said, this is where I meditate. He showed us his room, and his clothes, and his shoes. And I was amazed. Guruji had the very latest pair of Nike shoes. And I thought, it was a very wonderful Guruji. And yes, it was just amazing that we were able to see it. And there were flowers blooming. And he said, these are all unseasonal flowers that are blooming here. But that was really quite an experience. And I count myself, I don't know, so, I mean, more than doubly blessed. It's not something I can even put into words, that why he came and why he took us there. And he used to tell me that I have known you for many, many years. And I said, but then why didn't you call me earlier? Why are you calling me when I am a grown-up woman, almost an old woman? And he said, there is the right time and the right place for everything. I once remember at the Empire Estate, Guruji produced some mishri. I mean, it must out of thin air. It must have been the size of a small Italy, I suppose. And he had done this for Anita, my sister-in-law, and he gave it to her. And so while she's very badly stricken with Parkinson's, and so she took some time to stand up and get up, and she was, sort of shaking and trembling. And so I stood up with her and I just put my hand under her to give her some support. And Guruji took bits and pieces of that mishri and gave it to everyone in the room. But that mishri did not go down in size. It remained that same Italy size that was in the palm of her hand. Everyone was fed with that. And then she said, then he said to her, you take this home and give it to their son, Adit. So it was literally a miracle that I saw firsthand before my eyes. Now, in my youth, I was a classical Bharatanatyam dancer, and now I teach and choreograph and do things like that. And again, suddenly while I was sitting at the mandir, I think I was at the Bade Mandir, and it was Guruji's birthday because there was a lot of celebrations going on. And again I thought to myself that I would love that my students would get the blessings and the opportunity to dance at the mandir, because many people used to sing and they would have, I'm not sure if I have seen dancing, but definitely there used to be singers who used to sing at the mandir on special occasions. So when I thought to myself that I would love the children to dance here, again he just turned to me and he said, he fixed the date that, come on, I can't remember now the date, but he said, let them dance here on such and such a date. I mean, it just used to always take my breath away that how he could read the smallest thoughts that just flashed by your mind for a second, and he would make them a reality, knowing that it would give so much happiness, pleasure, and so on. It was just something which was, I mean, I know you have all experienced, those of you who have been with him in his roop as a human, or I don't know even what to call it, as a god on earth. We have all experienced these beautiful miracles that he would always perform for us. Another time, we had a performance in Italy, I think it was, and we had I had to go there with my troupe of about 7-8 dancers, and every day we had to get the Schengen visa, and everybody had got the visa, but there was one girl who was not getting the visa. Now, when you dance in a troupe, if that one girl is missing, it's very difficult for the troupe. The troupe is incomplete, and it's very difficult to really go. And we had to go in the next 2 or 3 days, and this visa was just not coming through. And so when I entered the visa office, I said, Guruji, please let Nitya get her visa today. Please let her get the visa today. Otherwise, we really may not be able to go. And after a bit of waiting about and this, that and the other, the visa did come through. And of course, I was very happy and I thanked him profusely. And I got into my car, getting ready to go home. And the driver says that, Guruji, abhi nahi hai. So I said, what do you mean? Which Guruji? I mean, I couldn't accept that Guruji was no more. So I said, what are you saying? You're talking nonsense. He said, नहीं, मैंने अभी अरुण साहब के ड्राइवर से बात किया और उनको भी पता है that Guruji is not with us on this earth and has taken samadhi. I mean, it must have been the saddest day for many, many, many. But he had told me. He said, when I'm not here, I won't be here very much longer. And he was a young man at that time, I think, young, maybe 55 or 60. I said, I thought to myself, no, he's just saying something. He said, but you all have to now make your lives yourselves. Anyway, I never at all expected that he would leave us so abruptly. And as was my usual routine, when I would go to the mandir, I would always have a bath and wear fresh clothes, wear a salwar kameez or a sari, which I don't normally wear all the time. I'm normally in very casual pants and things like that. But that day, when I had gone to the visa office, I was wearing trousers and a shirt. And when I got this news, I said, I cannot go wearing this, because Guruji had told me. Once I had gone to the mandir. It was a very cold night, and I had worn pants because they kept me warmer than a sari, and I had a big shawl which I had covered myself in, and I thought, well, I don't think it's that noticeable that I'm wearing pants. So I went, and Guruji said, "Ye pehen ke kabhi nahi aana." And I felt so bad. So I said, okay, I will not. But that day, when he had taken samadhi, I was in those trousers, and I said, I'm not going to go to the mandir wearing this, though I wanted to go immediately. But I rang up my husband, and he said, you please come home. You're not going alone, because you will be in a terrible state. So you come home and we'll both go together. So I went home, I changed, and I saw Guruji lying in a small casket, and he looked so small, whereas he was such a towering being. And I know the whole of everybody there was just in such grief. Now when I walk around his samadhi, that sight does come to my mind. But I know that because he's talked to so many people, and he has connected with so many new people, new sangats. He's so much there. There's no way that he's gone anywhere. He talks to me now. I talk to him every day, every morning. First thing is good morning, Guruji. The last thing is good night, Guruji. And the 20 odd hours in between, he is always in my heart. Before I start to do anything, whether it is even sometimes I paint, and sometimes I write, and sometimes I dance, and whatever I may do. Sometimes I plan things. Even the choreography, I start planning it on a piece of paper. And I always start with Om Shri Guruji. So many times I have written that. It's just now so automatic that it's the only way I start anything. When I go into a plane, or when I go into a home, or it's just that I always say Jai Shri Guruji, Jai Guruji. I always cry so much when I think about him and when I talk about him. And Guruji had given me, of course, this large, big photograph, which is where I speak to him every day. He's given me his jyotis, which he's given, I know, to many. He gave me some scarves, which I put all this on my puja table, and I speak to him every day. And one day I had asked him, that Guruji, you do so much for us, so much for us. What do you expect from me? What can we do as a form of thanks? And we can't just keep taking from you and that's it. What do you expect from me? And he used to say, complete surrender. I used to go to temples, but now I don't feel the urge to go, as he is looking after all of us, all my family, all my friends, everybody, even even people who are not my friends. I sometimes pray for them, and he always answers my prayers. I've been very fortunate to have gone to Dugri, his birthplace. I have been on 2 occasions. The second occasion when I went, Guruji was no longer, he had taken Samadhi. And I went with another couple, also who are great bhakts of Guruji, and who he has really saved from much illness and trauma. And So we decided to go one day, and they decided to go, and I said I would love to come again. So we went, and when we entered, there were lots and lots of people, as there are usually, but we made our way in and sat in the upstairs room, quite sort of far away. And as soon as I sat down, somebody walked in, and one of the sevadars came with tea, chai. And so I looked around, and there was just one cup. So I looked around, and I was wondering why he had singled me out, and I said, is this for me? And he said, well, I don't know what he said, but must have said yes. So I took it, and then puja was being, the aarti was being done, and Guruji's nephew motioned towards me. He called me, and he said, come to do the aarti. There were other people also doing the aarti with him. And he handed me a handful of walnuts and mishri or different things. But he spoke to me completely in Guruji's voice. He said, "Hor ki gal hai." It was Guruji who was talking to me. I had not known Guruji's nephew. I had not seen him. I didn't know who he was. But he called to me, and it was Guruji talking to me. And we did the aarti, and I felt, again, I wonder, what have I done that has given me this huge blessings? We, all of us, this whole Sangat is a worldwide family. We are all connected through Guruji. Once I had asked him, I said, "Guruji, have you been to America?" Because I always used to take his leave when we would go to America to see our son and family there. So I just asked him, I said, "Have you been to America?" And he said, yes, he had been there telepathically. Because people there get his fragrance just like they do here. All over the world, Guruji is all over the world, spreading his grace, his kindness, his help, and really with only asking for our surrender. And I know that we have all completely surrendered to him. There is no one in the Sangat who does not feel individually connected with Guruji. And not a day goes by when I don't fold my hands before his picture. As I said, I say good morning to him, I say good night. And the rest of the day, of all my hours, waking hours, Guruji is in my heart. So to you I say, Guruji, I have surrendered a long time ago. I surrender before you, Guruji. Thank you for everything that you have given me. Keep us always in your loving care. And I love you, Guruji. This is my daily special prayer to him. He had asked for complete surrender, and that is what I do. I know that his glory will spread throughout the world as he blesses all of his very beloved Sangat. I thank you for listening to me. I'm sorry if I have been rambling on, but I thank you very much. Jai Guruji.